Arm liposuction, and really the way that I do it differently is because I address the entire arm when I'm doing that procedure. I don't just do this bottom part, which is what probably 99% of surgeons are doing. They'll just suction a bit on the bottom here, and they're leaving the other 3/4 of the arm practically untouched. So then when you put your arm down and you look at yourself from the side like this, the width didn't really change much, right? Because all you did was take out this sliver at the bottom, which is great. If you're young, you have a tiny bit of fat, when you go like this, really what bothers you is the bottom, great, you can do it that way. But if you have a little bit of a bigger arm, or you want to look more muscular, you want to look like you're jacked, like you've been going to Pilates, CrossFit, whatever, then you really need to address this part as well, because what you're seeing on women when you really like how muscular their arms are is how thin they are here. So that triceps groove, which runs along diagonally here, you can expose that a little bit more with selective arm liposuction. It's called arm etching. I do it all the time. Then you can also show off the deltoid a little bit more, the groove that comes this way and also comes from the back. You can show off the lats a little bit more on the back here as well. So arm lipo is not just removing some fat from the bottom. A really good arm lipo procedure is gonna take care of the arm all the way around. And that's really the big difference in our practice, is that I treat the entire arm. I do a really comprehensive skin tightening treatment where I'm gonna tighten here, I'm gonna tighten on top, I'm gonna get that hanging elbow area here as well. And if you're trying to compare different price points, we have patients all the time, they say, I can get my arms done for $3,000, $4,000. And we really have to explain to them how different that procedure is done, because I have done revisions of arm lipo where I ask them, where are your scars? And they say, right here. And I'm like, where else? And that's it. So basically the surgeon just made a little entry point right here, went up and down a few times, and then called that arm lipo. That is not the best way to do an arm liposuction procedure. I've talked about this to death when it comes to the chin lipo. With the chin lipo, 1 incision is not as good as 3 incisions. With arm lipo, 1 incision or 2 incisions is not as good as 4 incisions. So what you want to do, you want to hide 1 here in the crease, 1 in the back of the armpit back here, and then 2 in the elbow. And that's going to give you access to the entire arm. And it's also going to give you the most even result, because then when it comes down time to even everything out at the end with that cheese grater tool, you run it from multiple entry points. You can remove fat evenly from the whole thing. And it just gives your surgeon a lot more access as they're doing the procedure and moving your arm around in space to be able to get all of those little pockets of fat. So if you've ever gone to the gallery on our website and seen some of those before and after photos, and we have patients, you know, we don't have a BMI limit because we're doing awake procedures, that they are in the 250 to 300 pound plus range, and their arm gets so much smaller that they're able to buy smaller shirts. And this is something that I hear from consistently from a lot of my arm liposuction patients, is that the reason they decided to do this procedure is because they got tired of buying a shirt that was 1 or 2 sizes bigger than their torso because their arms were so much larger. So if you decide to get an arm liposuction procedure, that's something that can definitely fix that problem. You got to make sure that your surgeon's gonna treat the whole thing though, not just this bottom part. We actually are doing a case very soon of somebody that had an arm lift and she still doesn't like the size of her arms. So an arm lift is really great for removing skin from down here, but if it isn't paired with a good liposuction, you're still not gonna have that small arm when you take a picture or when you put your arm down like this. So, you know, you gotta compare apples to apples here. If you're getting a ridiculously low price, if, you know, they're saying they're gonna add on the arm liposuction procedure to a 360, a tummy tuck, something else, you know, my arm lipo at the very minimum is an hour and a half. Typically with a bigger arm, you're looking at 2 hours, 2 hours and 15 minutes. So if your add-on price is only $1,000, $2,000, then there's no way that they can focus and do that really great technique. And that's another type of patient we see here quite a bit is I already had my arms done somewhere else. It was an add-on to this other bigger surgery. I thought that they were gonna work it just as hard, and that's not the case when you're doing add-on procedures. So the next thing to keep in mind with arm lipo is, are you going to get skin tightening? If I'm doing arms, I make it mandatory they have to get skin tightening because you don't want to create more hang downward. You don't want that pocket to just be like this thin, wrinkly thing. So you have to do skin tightening so you can get good contraction upward. You know, it's not going to replace an arm lift, but it'll definitely get you at least 50% of the result that an arm lift would have gotten you. And if you do a good skin tightening procedure and you go all the way around, you can decrease the size of the arm by at least 1/3 to 1/2. So when you're evaluating practices, you know, if you don't live in Fort Myers and you don't want to fly to me, fine. Look at their before and afters. There are a lot of surgeons out there and everybody is doing their own version of the procedure. Look at how many before and afters they have. If their gallery is only 360 lipo, or it's only breast implants, and it's only results that were done on the table that day, there is not one healed person in there, there's not one testimonial, you should probably take a hard look at that, because yes, the prices can be crazy. They can be super cheap at these places, but that surgeon is probably not getting a lot of reps in the procedure that you want. So I say this all the time. Anybody can do a lipo 360. A lipo 360 is the bread and butter of cosmetic surgery. It's simple. There's a lot of fat in the area, so you can hide a lot of mistakes. Arms, thighs, chins, they're a lot less forgiving. So you really need somebody that's doing a lot of liposuction, that's doing a lot of limbs in order to be able to get the result that you want. And take a look at that before and after gallery. If there's only one arm on there, that's probably not a great place to go.